Daniel, you know that we're in a market where it's not what have you done for me lately, but what are you going to do for me lately? So can you explain to us why you think that the first quarter is not nearly as important as Wall Street thinks it is?
Well, thank you, James, so much for having me on. Let's just start with our Q4. 406 million users, 180 million subs. It was our biggest quarter ever when it came to growth, and we pretty much beat on every metric. So I'm incredibly proud of that. Now, that said, Q1 just frankly matters a lot less to our business overall than the other 3 quarters. So I think maybe investors are reacting to that, but I feel really, really confident in our overall growth trajectory.
Now, one of the things that did bother me was in your premium subscriber growth, it grew 16% year over year, 180 million in the quarter, up from 172. But what I'm looking at increasingly, Daniel, is that we're trying to figure out how much a user is worth. We used to be very excited about a user. Maybe they'll gravitate to premium. Can that number go higher if you add new content?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're looking at the sort of value ratio per hour of listening. So if we can increase the hours that our customers are listening, then obviously we feel that the value that they're getting of the service increases. And that gives us leverage to over time increase our prices. But we shouldn't also forget that Spotify is not a one sort of revenue stream company anymore. We're a 2 revenue stream company. And you saw in Q4 that advertising hits over 15% of our revenue, up from less than 10 at the beginning of 2021. So we feel really good that over time, our ARPU, our average revenue per user, will increase, whether it's with both advertising and subscription.
Right, and then let's just briefly touch on Joe Rogan. I know more co-hosts have a lot to say about it too, but obviously a firestorm looks to be addressed. The people who are complaining in the medical field seem to be satisfied with what you're doing. At the same time, if you had to look at who is thinking about withdrawing from your system, what percentage of that might be of your entire mosaic, and how upset are people about royalties versus actual censorship?
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously there's a lot of conversations out there about Spotify, and that's certainly true. But if you look overall, I like to point that out. Spotify now has 11 million creators. And when you look at our music business, 2020, we paid out $5 billion to the music industry. 2021, that number was $7 billion. This is the first time we're actually talking about that number. So we paid out more than $30 billion to the music industry, and it's over a quarter of the entire music business globally overall. So I feel really good about where we are, and that we're a material income source for many artists around the world.
And one other question, I think people don't understand the mosaic of your business. The monthly average users by region, North America is not as significant yearly. And then you have other countries that I remember your previous CFO telling me about look out. If I were to look at, say, India, would I see a monthly average user that would actually send North America below 20% a year from now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point that you're mentioning India. I mean, India is really a rocket ship for us, and you certainly saw that in Q4 too. We feel really good about where we are. We entered the market just shy of 3 years ago and are now one of the biggest music services in the entire country. But looking at the whole region, if you think about India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, we're talking about 2 billion users. So in the coming years, I can't speak to next year, but in the coming years, the next 5 to 10 years, that region in itself is going to be massive. I like to think about, we used to talk about China 10, 20 years ago as this kind of, it's a big opportunity, but doesn't matter for the business. I think every business now realized that there's an enormous amount of consumer demand and dollars that Chinese customers are spending on goods.